So hard for Harden. Is the Philly finisher finished in the jam-packed East? Those are the questions. Good news is we've got all the answers as we get up with you starting right now on a Tuesday from the Seaport. I'm Greeny, alone, but by no means by myself. Take a look at the squad that we've put together for you today. Football conversation. Diana's back from the owner meetings. Mike T's going to make somebody mad. Jeff Saturday's handing out pancakes. Windy and Jay Will are standing by for the hoops. We'll get to all of it in a moment, but we begin with one of the best games of the year. Gino Auriemma and the number 2 seed UConn Huskies taking on number 1 NC State Elite 8. It was a classic. Pick it up in overtime. 2 minutes to play in the extra session. There's the star, Paige Beckers. Oh, so silky smooth. UConn a 1-point lead. Less than a minute now. UConn still up 1. Working the ball around. That's Aaliyah Edwards for the easy 2. NC State down 3. Final seconds. Ryan Rucco taking.
4 seconds left. Perez floats it. Brown Turner for the tie. Got it to go with .3 remaining. Brown Turner ties it at 77.
An unbelievable moment. Jakia Brown Turner with a clutch 3 to send this game to double overtime. Would UConn respond? Yes, they would. Paige Beckers just took the game over. She would score 27. She's heating up. Less than a minute later, UConn up by 1. Make it 3 as Paige knocks it down. It's a 3-point lead. 10 seconds to go. UConn up by 2. NC State needs it back. Playing tough, tight defense. But look at the ball movement. They will work it to Kristen Williams. Wide open for the layup, and there it goes. For the 14th consecutive year, UConn is headed to the Final Four off an absolute classic. Gino Auriemma, let's talk.
I think when you're younger, you think, I got a million of these left in me, and you get to a certain age then where you go, I don't know how many of these I have left. You don't know how many opportunities you're going to get to be in this game. It means more because each time you do it, there's a new set of kids that have never been there. And they came to Connecticut for a chance to play in the Final Four, and it's this overwhelming responsibility that you have to give them a chance, and we did.
Did it? They did. Final Four in Minneapolis is now set. According to Caesars, UConn, an 11-time previous champion, has only the 3rd best odds to win. South Carolina, nearly the odds-on favorite to win it all, followed by the defending champions. Stanford Final Four begins Friday right here on ESPN. Okay, to the NBA, we run the floor. The Heat are back in the top spot in the Eastern Conference after they blow out the Kings 123-100. It's been a tough week for Miami last week, as was well documented, but they bounced back big. Jimmy Butler at 27. Miami snapping a 4-game losing streak. Bam Adebayo at 22 points, 15 rebounds. In Toronto, the Celtics without Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and others lost in overtime 115-112. Pascal Siakam went for 40 and 13 rebounds. With that loss, the Celtics fall from 1st to 4th in the East. 4th is just a placeholder right now, though, because 4 teams are within 1 game of the top spot in the conference. Miami with that lead over the Bucks and Sixers, who play each other tonight in Philly. According to our analytics, the Celtics have the best chance to get the 1 seed at 44%. All right, Jay Will has made his way across the hall. KJM weekday mornings on ESPN Radio. He's got the
Duke blue. Yeah.
He's got the Duke blue on. Windy's got the Carolina blue on.
Ridiculous.
Sorry, not sorry.
All right, so we got a bunch of things to get to today. Before we move on to anything else, you did make an observation in our meeting this morning that I think could wind up being very important about the Celtics, who were not whole in Toronto last night.
Yeah, we talked for weeks about Kyrie Irving's status if the Nets had played Toronto in the postseason. That also applies to other teams. Jason Tatum, Al Horford, Jaylen Brown were on the injury report on Monday night. They were not on the injury report. They played on Sunday. Jason Tatum in the past has said that he is vaccinated on the record. When asked about whether all of their team would be available under the current rules in Toronto, the Celtics offered a no comment. I don't know if they're going to play in the postseason. We'll see, but just let that be known.
Well, you're making that noise, Jay, because clearly the Celtics, who've had this unbelievable run over the last 3 months, it's a topic that has not come up anywhere, and that's why we wanted to get ahead of it. It is a potential matchup in the first round. Nothing is set yet in those playoffs, but it could happen.
And by the way, the loss of Robert Williams, one of the things that makes this team so good defensively is that they can apply so much pressure. So for Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, they can deny passing lanes, they can push up underneath you because you have a guy behind you that is is great at blocking shots, but also altering shots. The amount of shots that Robert Williams alters at the rim is what makes his talent so incredible and dispensable.
So yesterday, at this time, we were talking about the miracle run the Celtics were on and whether or not they were a championship contender. 24 hours later, the conversation is very different. Life comes at you fast in the NBA. In the meantime, staying in the Eastern Conference, I want to talk about James Harden, who has really struggled, particularly in the game against Phoenix this weekend. He went 2 of 11 in a Sixers loss. And yesterday, here on the show, I want you to hear what Tim Legler had to say about Harden. Here was Legs.
I think the level of concern is rising as we speak. I really do, because when I watch James Harden certain nights, and last night was a great example of this, and look, you are playing one of the best defenses in the league, but he has an inability right now to get by the initial defender. He just can't do that right now. I don't know if it's physically something is going on. He's not the same dominant offensive player that he was, and that should be absolutely concerning to the Philadelphia 76ers.
So listen, I'm old enough to remember when Harden first got there and everyone thought this was the greatest deal of all time. They were 5-0 in his first 5 games. Since then, they're just 5-4 when he plays, and you see his numbers are way down. Jay Will, what are we seeing in James Harden right now?
So the best 76ers offense is when there's continuity, when you get the defense rotating from side to side, which allows a mismatch for Joel Embiid. When you're going to see on this tape, when they break down, they get into an ISO situation, I want everybody to pay attention to how the offense becomes stagnant. He comes up the screen, you're going to see Tyrese Maxey come up here from the weak side. Now watch, it breaks down. Now he's trying to handle separation. Tyrese Maxey, what are we doing? What are we doing here on the court? Everybody's standing around watching James Harden go into ISO basketball. It allows the defense to set. It goes into a turnover. These are not the kind of possessions that you want down the stretch if you're Doc Rivers and if you're 76ers.
Absolutely. And then you add to that what Legler was talking about, which is not only does he take the air out of the ball, but he also can't just blow by people the way he used to. Why is that?
Well, because he lost a little bit of his burst, but he still does have, if he can get a step on you, he can still beat you with his upper body. That's how James Harden plays. He throws his shoulders in front of you and then edges you out of the play offensively. And he can still make reads. It just doesn't have the same pop that it used to when he was in Houston.
Wendy, what are people around the league saying?
This is one of the worst kept secrets in the league, that his first step isn't the same. Here are the numbers. Blow-by percentage has gone from 89th percentile in the league to 58th. He's gone from super elite to middling. He's still very crafty. He's still getting to the foul line 10 times a game. But you saw in that clip, they sat on his left side. A good team that has a good defensive strategy, Harden's going to struggle against right now. There's a wonder whether this hamstring injury that he suffered a year ago is leading to this, or if it's conditioning, or if it's a little bit of both.
One way or another, Jay Will, where does that leave Philly as we head down this final week and a half and into the playoffs?
I mean, the fact that this is happening towards the playoffs, once again, is starting to prove that narrative correct about what we think about James Harden in the playoffs, unfortunately. One of the most innovative offensive players the game has ever seen in the history of the game. But when it comes down to crunch time, what James Harden will we see? I think the one who has a hamstring injury, the one who's somewhat out of shape.
So right this minute, in the tightest conference we've ever seen, super quick, Wendy, who do you like in the East right now?
Milwaukee and Boston.
Milwaukee and Boston.
Yeah.
All right, I was looking for one, but I'll give you 2 because I like you. Jay Will, how about you?
The Milwaukee Bucks, they're the best team in the Eastern Conference.
All right, very good.
I know it's not the sexy pick, but they are there when it counts.
No, the sexy pick pays across the river in Brooklyn,
Agreed.
An area you know awfully well. We'll see what happens. All right, get back on the radio. Jay Will, thank you very much. All right, more hoops as we go. But to the NFL now, where the Packers have been at the center of attention for so much of this offseason, bringing back Aaron Rodgers on a new contract and then trading away his #1 receiver, Devontae Adams, to Las Vegas. As the owners' meetings continue, here was Matt LaFleur literally moments ago meeting the media in Palm Beach.
Those decisions are never easy to make. And unfortunately, it was one that, we had to come to. I think a lot of it was driven by Devontae, I would tell you. But, there's no sense in looking back on it. It's just we're moving forward. So, and we appreciate everything he's done. Obviously, it's a lot to replace in terms of the production and the type of leader that he was for us. But again, it was just one of those deals that you never want to make, but unfortunately, sometimes you have to.
All right, so let's get the crew in here. Diana Rossini, you were just back from the owners' meetings. What was the general conversation surrounding the still somewhat stunning trade of Davante Adams to Vegas?
Yeah, can we get these meetings a little later for these head coaches? Matt LaFleur sounds exhausted.